Now, it's interesting that we're using the term radius because typically that applies to circles. But a circle really is just a special case of the polygon. Let me show you how this works. Here we go ahead and select the circle tool now. And notice here on the bottom, it has, again, just like the polygon tool, it has a number of sides. But in this case, it's a higher number. It's 24. But I can just left click and drag, give it a radius, just any number, say 4 feet or something like that, and I've drawn a circle. Now the circle is a little bit different than the polygon in that it has smooth sides. Now when I get to the circle, there's a little bit of a difference. Even though it has 24 sides, you can't see any of the sides. Here I have a hard edge here, here, and here. I have a hard edge here on the hexagon as well as the octagon, but the circle, which is now a cylinder, does not have the hard sides. In fact, if I wanted to even duplicate that, I could go into polygon, and let's just type in 24 sides, which was the same number as the circle. Pull that out, and then use my push-pull tool to pull it up. And you'll see that, hey, I've got a 24-sided figure, but it's different than the cylinder here. So the difference between a polygon and a circle is that a circle has smooth sides. So keep this in mind as you continue to work in SketchUp. And next, we'll go ahead and show you how to switch between the two. As we saw previously, polygons and circles create fundamentally different geometry. One extrudes to a smooth object, the other extrudes to hard edges. Let's take a look at how this works. So I'm going to start with a circle, and notice the circle has a number of sides because it essentially is just a polygon. So I'm going to go ahead and just drag out a circle here, and then let's create an identical polygon. So I'm going to go ahead and create a polygon. I'm going to type in 24 for the number of sides. Let's just go ahead and drag that out. Now when we take a look at these, they look pretty much identical. But they're different when we extrude them using push-pull. So I'm going to go ahead and push and pull these into objects. And notice how one has hard edges, the other one is completely smooth. Now fundamentally, these are the same objects. So if I were to select, say, my cylinder and right-click over this and do select all connected, you'll see that I have all of these hidden edges that show up in a dotted line. And you can see it has the same number of edges that we have in the polygon object. Now we can view these more clearly just by going into View, Hidden Geometry. And when we turn this on, it shows dotted lines for what we call softened edges. And it basically allows me to soften these edges. And then I can also smooth the normals between these. So if you can catch this in the light, when we toggle this on and off, notice how it becomes a hidden edge but a flat face, or we can smooth it to make it look even more round. And then the angle between the normals is basically screwed along a path to create complex objects. Finally, another way to draw 3D objects is to draw them as text. Now we have two text tools in SketchUp. One is called text, and that's basically for labeling text. So if you want to label a drawing or something like that. We want to look at 3D text, which actually creates objects. So I'm going to go ahead and select 3D text, and it brings up this window. Now into it, we can type whatever text we want. We can choose whatever font the system has and whatever alignment we want. We can also choose a height. I'm going to create, say, a 3-foot tall letter. And then we have the choice of whether to fill or extrude that text. I'm going to leave those off for now. And let's just go ahead and create just the basic text. So I'm going to go ahead and select place. And now it creates some text. Now because I didn't fill it, it just creates the outlines of those objects. Let's go ahead and do one more. We're going to do ahead 3D text. And this time let's just do it filled. And again, let's just type in the same text. Press place. You can see now it's created faces on top of those outlines. So now we have filled text, but it's just flat. So it's not extruded. And so let's just see what extruded looks like. I'm going to turn on extruded. And when that's turned on, it lights up this window here. So let's go ahead and type in the text. And let's turn on extruded. And for this, we need to give it a depth. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a depth of, say, 6 inches. And I'm going to go ahead and press place. When I do, it creates actual objects. So now we've got 3 different types of text with 3 different types of objects. Now, all of these are basically what we call groups. Now, we haven't talked about groups yet, but just know that a group is just a collection of objects. And I can move these around however I want. So if I select my move key, I can move them wherever I want, or I can rotate them. Say, let's say I wanted to rotate that vertically, so I can just use my rotate tool to rotate it vertically. Now, if I wanted to have access to the individual letters, this is a group. But let me show you a little secret here. All you have to do is double-click on the group, and that gives you access to all the objects within it. So all I have to do now is say, rubber band select the E, or marquee select that E, and now I can move it wherever I want. So if I wanted to, I could move it up, down, or whatever. And I could do that for any one of these letters. So if I wanted to, I could select the O, and again, move it or rotate it however I want. And now when I'm done, it's one object. So as you can see, 3D text can be very useful. You can use it certainly to create text, but you also can use it to create shapes that you may find difficult to create otherwise. When we start drawing in SketchUp, we'll always have the need to measure and align things. And we can use the tape measure tool to do that. Now you can find this tool in one of 2 places. Here it is on the toolbar. It's called tape measure. And under tools, we also have tape measure. And the hotkey for that is T. So if I select tape measure, a little icon that looks like a tape measure shows up. So we can use this. Use my tape measure tool, left click to the inside of that window, drag over on the green axis, and click here. See how we've got another, let's go ahead and turn on the large tool set. So you can find the protractor tool here, or if you want, you can go into Tools, Protractor. And as you can see, it looks very similar to the rotate tool, in that it creates this protractor-like interface. Now, if you want to measure an angle, all you have to do is hover over what you want to measure. So I want to measure the bottom corner of this, and you basically just left-click to set, and very similar to the rotate tool, you drag out a line, and then you rotate it up or down. Now, this will snap to 90, 60, 45, and so on, and it will also snap to whatever it's aligned to. So in this case, this edge here, and we can see here that the angle is 53.6 degrees. Now we can also use the protractor to create guidelines for edges, and you can see one of the guidelines here. I'm actually going to go ahead and select all of this and delete it so we can have something a little bit more clear here. And we're actually going to put a roof on this little box here. Now I'm going to create just a standard pitch roof. And in order to do that, we need to know the angle of the roof. Now I have a little handy chart here that basically just goes from roof pitch to angle. So we're going to do a standard 412 pitch, which means for every 12 inches, it rises 4. And the number we were looking for here is 18.5 degrees. So that's what our pitch for our roof is going to be. So let's go ahead and select our protractor tool and align it here. And then left click, drag it out, and then we're going to just type in 18.5 degrees. Hit enter, and it creates that guideline. Let's do the same on the opposite corner. Again, drag out, and 18.5 degrees. So now I have the guidelines with which to draw my roof. So I can go to my line tool here, left click, and just snap to that line, find the intersection, and then draw down. So now I've got the gable end of my roof. And let's go ahead and use our push-pull tool to drag this out to snap to the end there. And so now I've got a simple roof that has a gable end. Now that I have this, I can erase my guidelines if I want. Now let's take this a step further and go from a gable end roof to a hip roof. And for that, we need to angle the roof along the other direction. So again, we can do the same with our protractor. The pitch of the roof is going to be the same. So that number was 18 So now that I have that, I need to find a way to get this line projected over here to the peak of the roof. Well, probably the easiest way to do that is just to draw your way into it. So I'm just going to use my line tool. I'm going to select my line tool, draw along the red axis until I get a snap to the blue, and then draw again until I snap onto my guideline. So now I have the point with which this will intersect. So again, one more line, and I'm drawing over to this top ridge of the roof. Now this creates a polygon, but we can get rid of that by erasing these first two lines. And now I know where that 412 pitch hits on the ridge of the roof. So all I have to do is draw a line from here to here and from here to here. And so now you can see I've got the pitch of my roof. And we can start just using the eraser tool, erase that guideline. And these options here, there we go. So now that's a hip roof at the proper pitch. Let's do this one more time just so you can get the hang of it. So again, protractor tool, select, sweep out our angle, type in the pitch that we want, 18.5. And now I'm going to draw my way over to the ridge of the roof. So I'm going to start here at the very end, snap to blue, snap to my guideline, find the top edge of my roof. And then if I want, I can keep everything here and just go snap, snap, and draw that. And then just go ahead and erase this polygon, as well as that gable end and all of that associated lines. And there we go. The protractor tool allows us not only to measure angles, but to create guidelines with which we can draw specific angles. When you create complex objects, there are times when you'll need to do a section of the object to show people what it looks like, say on the inside or something like that. This is used a lot for floor plans. Now we can create sections in SketchUp using the section plane. We find it under Tools, Section Plane. And what this does is it brings up basically a little plane, and we can align that to horizontal or vertical surfaces of our object. So let's go ahead and align this to the roof of this building and just left click. And when we do, it creates a section. Now I can left click and drag and select this, highlight it in blue, and then use the move tool to move it up or down. So if I move it down enough, I'm getting basically a floor plan for the building. So if I want to, I can go into one of my standard views here, say my top view, turn on parallel projection, and now if I zoom out a little bit, I've got a pretty nice floor plan for my building. Now again, I'm just going to go ahead and turn off perspective here. And again, we can adjust this so we can have a high or low, or if we have multiple floors, we can do those as well. And if I want to get rid of the section plane, all I have to do is select it and hit delete, and it goes away. Now let's say I wanted to do a section along another wall. All I have to do again is just go into section plane and snap to it. Then I need to select it and hit M for move, and now I can create a